Eco-Solutionaries Radio. Be a part of the solution, not the crisis. Ecology, consciousness, and solution.
And if we get to wholeness, are we then in heaven? I mean, where else is there to go?
We'll never get there, you see. It's not a place you can get. The wholeness, I say, is a kind of attitude or an approach to the whole of life. It's a way, if we can have a coherent approach to reality, then reality will respond coherently to us. But nature has been tremendously affected by our way of thinking on the earth. Nature is now being destroyed. There's very little left on the earth which wasn't affected by how we were thinking.
And if we have coherence, in what way will our behavior be seen to be different?
Well, we will produce the results we intend rather than the results we don't intend.
Yes.
That's the first big change. Then we will be more orderly, harmonious, we will be happier. I think we could put all that in there. But the major source of unhappiness is that we are incoherent and therefore producing results that we don't really want. And then trying to overcome them, or we keep on producing them. The question is, what is the real origin of consciousness?
That's exactly the case. Where did it come from? Was there a time when there was no consciousness?
Well, I don't think it originates in time. You see, I think it's a potential of the whole universe. Wholeness will arise between us all in participation rather than separately.
But if you went as a hermit into a cave...
Well, you still have nature.
That's true.
We are internally related to everything,
yes,
not externally related. Consciousness is an internal relationship to the whole. We take in the whole and we act toward the whole. And that internal, whatever we have taken in, determines basically what we are. I read somewhere that the hunter-gatherers would get all their food in about 15 hours a week. Mm-hmm. Now, and we have not yet approached anything like that. So, but leaving that aside, I think we need to set aside some time for this. We need a period of emptiness and quiet where we can go into this. It doesn't mean that we should do nothing else. I think that you have to be sensitive to just the question of delusion. That is there incoherence? You have to be sensitive to incoherence. Now, delusion arises when we are not sensitive to incoherence, when we overlook it. There's no guarantee that we can succeed in anything. If anybody claims to have evidence, it's always limited, and you can't trust it either. So in this game, there's no guarantee at all. As we can't trust anybody to tell us what's about these things. We have a tremendous resistance to acknowledging incoherence. People are constantly saying everything is all right, there's nothing to worry about, this is all very coherent. Totalitarian regimes are constantly doing that, saying everything is wonderful. That's the key point, to attend to incoherence, first acknowledge it and then begin to do something about it.
It has to go in waves, I must say. It has to go in waves, There's a time...
Everything is in waves, he says.
No, I said there's a time for anarchy and there's a time for order. Order creates anarchy and anarchy creates order.
And
and it goes in waves.
Waves create erosion.
I think that the incoherence has become more dangerous because of the scale of our society and because of technology. That we have all sorts of dangers, such as nuclear war, biological war, chemical war, destruction of nature, and probably we can think of 4 or 5 others, which are brought about by our power. You see, now, the greater power we have, the greater we need coherence. The question, to my mind, is the human being capable of dealing with this situation, which he himself has produced?
Hello, you're listening to the first episode of Eco-Solutionaries Radio. I'm your host, Carlita, and I'm a British wildlife biologist living in South America, in Ecuador. And I've been here for about 6 years now, first of all, I came here from Guatemala, where I was teaching ecology, to hopefully to find solutions to the ecocide in the Amazon, due mainly to oil drilling. However, in 2012, things here changed greatly when the government decided to sell off all the Amazon for drilling, for oil drilling, and therefore I came at a dead end. And since then, I've been trying to raise awareness through focusing on solutions to the unfolding ecocide in the Amazon and worldwide in all of our last great wildernesses, which are under attack by corporate greed and lobbying systems which are not democratic, yet they are legal, where corporations can lobby politicians and funnel millions of dollars to politicians to sway their decisions or make them rewrite environmental laws so that corporations can frack and drill our last great wildernesses. So we are under attack by corporate greed. Our survival is under attack by corporate greed. Our democracy is under attack by corporate greed. Peace, not an option while this is going on, because politicians can find ways through war to purchase cheaper oil during a time when obviously the earth is exhausted and environmental collapse is imminent if we continue to go on this way. So my focus with this radio show is on solutions to the environmental problems that are blatantly being ignored. While this year, 2016, the consumption of oil, which is the true cause of ecocide on the planet, along with geoengineering, because oil consumption is at its highest this year than it ever has been in human history. In 2010, the world's oil consumption was at a rate of 87 million barrels of oil per day. Now it's increased to 97 or 98 million barrels per day. That's almost 100 million barrels of oil being drained from the earth per day. And all this while the governments talk about being concerned about carbon emissions, which they tax and trade and make about 33 trillion on a year. But all in all, the truth and the root cause of this matter is the governments and the powers that be and their reliance on oil. So we will be exploring all these alternative solutions that exist in conjunction with this battle for power and our battle to save the earth from the psychopaths that govern us. And this is my intention with this radio show, is to interview people who are pioneers and who have great solutions and alternatives to the current destructive system that we are all a part of. And aside from climate and climate manipulation and climate changing, we need to focus on ecology and consciousness and explore solutions and raise awareness about these solutions that exist. Because one of the problems here is ecological illiteracy and the lack of awareness of some of these incredible solutions that are out there right now. For example, this year, in March, the water fuel cell was launched by the Japanese company Honda. And actually way back a few years ago in 2010, Genopax, also another Japanese company, launched a water fuel cell car, and that went on the market in 2011 in Japan, and it could even run on Japanese green tea and seawater. Interesting time, as that was the same year as the horrific disaster of Fukushima. But now Honda have this water fuel cell car that they have launched in March 2016, and it's very similar to the patent that Stanley Myers originally designed, which could also power a domestic house, power energy for a domestic house situation. So this water fuel cell car that's out, that Honda launched, really needs more public attention, because it's just one of many solutions that are out there right now today, including other kinds of cars, the solar-powered cars that have been test-driven across Australia for thousands of miles, and they work perfectly efficiently. The problem is that the infrastructure is not supported by governments or oil company CEOs and shareholders. They do not provide the infrastructure that encourages these alternatives, because they have stakeholders in these oil shares, and a lot of politicians do as well. And this is because oil still makes hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit per hour, and while the politicians foster a war on terror, it enables them to access very, very cheaply priced oil at the price of human exploitation as well as environmental exploitation.
It is parasitic, the consciousness that's here. Sometimes I see it as imagery of like maggots, like a maggoty sort of energy that's sort of like, it just eats through. Its thought pattern is conquer and destroy. And that's what it does, and that's what it's done to other planets too. And that's what it's trying on this. So this particular planet, they want us all as well to think that this is an insignificant place in the middle of a universe, in the middle of a super universe, a tiny little dot that's when it isn't. This particular planet, Earth, is an anagram for heart. So this planet here is the one that they want to take control of. So they want to take control of the heart. The human heart is connected to the earth, and that's the one that they can't. It's very easy to control the base chakra, because that's mainly what's driven through television and media all the time. That's all. Its base is always like primal energy, bestial energy is sort of always invoked, and they can sort of feed from that. But it's the heart energy that they really want. It's in the hands of the people. We're the creators. They aren't the creators. They can't create. We can. Take responsibility and create for ourselves.
Life you can live as if you are in a hypnosis. That's how 99% people live. Or you can live with intensity, awareness. If you live with awareness, you mature. A mature one never dies, because he will learn even through death. Even death is going to be an experience to be intensely lived and watched, allowed.
Air, fire, water, space, time, sun is in me. The rain is in me. I welcome the moon. I welcome the stars. I am a star dust. We are all star dust. We are made of the cosmos. We have to expand our consciousness and not get this narrow, human. And even we are not completely human. We think, I'm English, you are Indian, I'm Chinese, you are Japanese, I'm a Christian, you are a Muslim, I'm a capitalist, you are a communist, I am black, you are white, I'm man, you are woman. Division. What are we doing? Even among humanity, we have a division. My friends, division is not diversity. Diversity is good. We welcome diversity. Evolution favors diversity, but not division. Diversity to be celebrated. So wonderful that we have Christianity and Islam and Buddhism and Judaism and all the religions. And it's wonderful that we have blacks and whites and you are all here humans, but you all have different hair. We are all here humans, we have different voice. So diversity is wonderful, but that diversity should be celebrated and not turned into division. So Richard Dawkins was interviewing me and he said, I don't believe in spirituality. I said, you are a professor, you are Oxford graduate. Do you know the meaning of the word spirituality? The spirit, the word spirit. The word spirit comes from breathing. Inspirare, expirare. When you are breathing out, expirare. When you are breathing in, inspirare. Spirit means breathing. Mr. Dawkins, don't you believe in breathing?
What did he say?
I said, oh no, this is not how I understand spirit. Spirit means something wishy-washy, ghostly. I said, you are a professor, you are so famous, you have written books, but you don't understand the meaning of the word spirit. I think our universities produce more ignorance than knowledge. More ignorance. I was invited to speak at the London School of Economics. And I asked them, learned professor, tell me where is your department for ecology? He said, ecology? We don't have one. I said, London School of Economics and no ecology? So why? I said, economy and ecology come from the same root in Greek language. Ecos means home. And nomos means management. And logos means knowledge. So ecology means knowledge of home. And in the wisdom of the Greek philosophers, home is not only where you have your bedroom, your bathroom, your kitchen, your garden. Home is the entire planet. Planet home, earth home. And knowledge, how all the species work together. How earth, air, fire, water make everything. How humans and animals and trees and oxygen and carbon, everything is connected. That knowledge is ecology. That is a science. Knowledge of harmonious existence of the universe is science. True science. And so ecology is the science, the knowledge of the home. And economy means management of the home. Now please tell me, you are teaching all these graduates how to manage home without knowing what is home. How are you going to manage something what you don't know? And that's a London School of Economics. So I said, no wonder you are sending these thousands upon thousands of graduates to go out in the world, to America, to China, to India, to Africa, to everywhere, to manage something they don't know. No wonder that the world economy is in a mess. They just teach about management of business, or they teach about finance. Now I say money and finance is only a figure on the computer. We have got this economic crisis in England, in Britain. We've got European crisis, Eurozone crisis, debt in Greece, in Italy, in Spain. What is this crisis? They say economic crisis. This is crisis of figures on the computer. Figures on the computer. And they have forgotten how to count money. Because they have those trillions and trillions and trillions, they don't know. If I had 100 pounds in my pocket, I can count. But if I have trillions of dollars or pounds in my pocket, I can't count. So please, if you want to solve the economic problem, the debt problem, bring your problem to trillions to hundreds of pounds or hundreds of dollars. That will be better. Make £1 more valuable. So you can buy this marquee, this tent in £1, or you can buy food for £1. Money is only a means of exchange. It's not real wealth. Wealth is air, clean water, food, creativity, imagination, human skill, arts, crafts, music, poetry, families, our hands. That is real wealth. Money is not wealth. And so we have to break this illusion, this money economy illusion. And our Chancellor, who is another Oxford graduate, please, if anybody here from Oxford, forgive me. He says environment gets in the way of economy. Can you imagine so stupid a statement? Can you imagine? He has to go back to school. He has to invite Satish Kumar to teach him what is economy. He says environment gets in the way of economy. But economy is the subsidiary of ecology. Without our land, without our forests, without our animals, without our human skills, without our communities, you cannot have economy. And so economy without environment, without nature, without soil, without earth, there is no economy. So I think we have to create a revolution in our educational system at London School of Economics, Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, Yale, Paris, Moscow, Bombay, Tokyo, New York. All these universities need to change. This is why we have created a college called Schumacher College. If you want to learn holistic economics, come to Schumacher College. And so soul, when I take to soul is to put soul in our lives. We are not just body. Body without soul is only good for coffee. Soul is the quality of compassion. Soul is the quality of love. The soul is the quality of relationship and that empathy and quality of relationship. And now we are forgetting, we think, oh, I'm just body. But you have something deeper than body. You have something profounder than body. You have something more important which you don't realize. You say, oh, I'm nothing, I can't do this, I can't do that. You are a very special being. Every one of you are a unique being. Every one of you is a potential Gandhi, a potential Buddha, a potential Mother Teresa, a potential Aung San Suu Kyi. Yeah. Long live Aung San Suu Kyi. Because she has that Buddhist, that religious, that spiritual, soulful politics. She brings soul in politics. So we have all that capacity, that potential. But our potential is somehow suppressed. Our potential is somehow dormant. So in order to develop our potential and unfold our potential, evolve our potential, we have to pay attention to our soul qualities and not only money and finance and external qualities, because all those are fine. You need them, but you need to have soul qualities. So everyone looking after yourself, taking care of yourself. When Jesus Christ says, love thy neighbor as thyself, he means love thyself first. You cannot love the world if you don't love yourself. How do you expect other people to love you if you yourself don't love yourself? So taking care of yourself, your soul quality, your yoga, your meditation, your compassion, your relationship, your celebration. We don't celebrate life. We don't celebrate relationship. We take things for granted. Our mother, our father, our son, our daughter, our husband, our wife, our beloved, our girlfriend, our boyfriend. We take these things for granted. We have to appreciate them every moment and express our gratitude. That is soul quality. Express our gratitude. Like if you have a flower plant in the house, if you don't water them, they will die. In the same way, if you don't appreciate your wife, if you don't appreciate your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your children, your parents, they will die. So the watering the flower is to appreciate and praise and express gratitude to our kith and kin, our near and dear, our friends. And not only humans, we have to also express our gratitude to nature. The rain coming, the sunshine coming, the trees giving us oxygen, the flowers giving us aroma, and the sweet smell, and the good color and good look. We have to express that gratitude. That's a soul quality. So if we have our relationship with the soil and we take care of our soul, then we also need to take care of our society. We are a human community. And as I said in the beginning, we human communities are for ages and ages and ages, we have been at each other's throats. Now there's a war in Iraq, there's a war in Afghanistan, there's a war in Syria, there's a war in Israel, Palestine, there's a war in Kashmir. We are spending billions and billions of dollars and pounds and yens and euros on wars, when there are millions of people going without food. And we are wasting 40% of food in Britain is wasted. And we have hungry people in Britain, in our own communities, in our own land. And we are wasting food, throwing away in restaurants, in fridges, in deep freezers, in supermarkets. Researchers did a cover issue, Occupied Together. The cover issue is there on the back there on the table. So we did a cover issue, and we think that that was a kind of small example and a sample as how people can get together and make waves. And please remember that this society which we have built is an industrial, materialistic society which is very anti-ecology and anti-peace over hundreds of years. So it's not going to change tomorrow. It will take time. We need patience, we need resilience. We have to continue working. So not just one day or 1 week or 1 month, but we have to dedicate our lives. And I dedicate my life to it. But I'm now getting old, but you are the young here. So dedicate your life to create a better world, and better world is possible. Whatever you can do, start acting now. Do not worry too much about the consequence, don't about the outcome, about the achievement. We don't know what the outcome will be of our action. We are talking here now. We are doing now. But I don't know what the achievement and outcome of this talk will be. How many people will feel inspired to do something, not do something. It's in God's hands. It's in the hands of the universe. So our prerogative is to act now, urgently, in this moment, not tomorrow, not in 5 years' time, not in 10 years' time. Today, the revolution begins now, at this moment. And so 5 years, 10 years, we cannot plan. So although I love Caroline Lucas, and I went to campaign for her in Brighton when she was fighting for the election, I'm delighted that she is one Green MP in the Parliament, at least one sane voice out of that madhouse. So I'm delighted, but I would not say that we will put any time limit or any dateline as when the world is going to come to an end. But we are not astrologers, we are not futurologists, we are activists. And so let's act now. I started one school called the Small School in Heartland, and I said to children, we are not going to teach you Darwin and Shakespeare until you learn how to cook your lunch. Because what is good of learning about Darwin and Shakespeare and all the other great things and academic knowledge, and you don't know how to grow food? So I said, the kitchen is also your classroom. Learn to appreciate the food and where the food is coming from. Let's have a garden. So we created a garden in the small school so people can see, children can experience that you plant one seed in the ground and that comes out, and the whole plant comes out of that tiny, have you seen tomato seed? How small is it? Very, very small. And out of that seed, a whole big plant. And how many tomatoes you get? Hundreds. And in each tomato, there are 20, 30, 50 seeds. What a miracle of nature. What a magic. That magic, that miracle, that mystery of life, children have to experience. And so I said, when you see that, do that, experience that, that's a true biology. Then you can learn about Darwin and Newton and Galileo and Shakespeare and Milton and others. So we need to bring kitchen and the garden and the hearts, and head. Education of head, heart, and hands. In England, you say we have to teach 3 R's. 3 R's. Actually, there are not even 3 R's. I have to teach my English friends how to spell. I said, instead of 3 R's, let's have 3 H's. Head, heart, and hands. And make our homes the 4th H. Make our planet home a wonderful place. And so this way, we can bring a transformation in our education. And now many small schools have started, following the example of the small school. There's a school at Dartington called Park School, and there's Ashburton, there's a school there, and there's the Krishnamurti School, which started before the small school. That's a wonderful Blockwood Park school near Winchester. So there are many small schools are starting, but still very small minority, and this is why we need to expedite the educational revolution.
And we set up a separate self that's me, and the rest is out there. Maybe that's the seeds of violence. That's the roots of greed, of fear, of aversion, of confusion. So what I love in Buddhism and in systems science too, which I've in my life loved weaving them together, is that the self is just a metaphor. What you draw is where you draw the circle. I can decide that everything inside this bag of skin is Joanna, or within my family, or within my nation. But the self is actually a metaphor around which you build your defenses, your needs to protect. And what I love about deep ecology, and I know that so much of what you say, Michael, resonates in my deep ecological soul, is that we are invited to extend our self-interest as large as we want, and you extend it to include all of life. And I think that's the nature of this time. I think that is the exquisite challenge of this planetary crisis, is that we can choose to see that our basic identity is as a part of the earth. We're unique. There's nobody else like us. Each one is an individual. But we draw from and are interdependent with all the others in the whole earth. Mahavira pointed that out, and so did the Buddha. That was his main teaching.
To accomplish this, is this the shift of consciousness that you sometimes allude to, the great turning, which is such a beautiful image?
Yes, I think that is one of the dimensions. There are action dimensions of protecting life, slowing down the destruction, but this shift of consciousness is to wake up to our basic inter-existence. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen master, calls it inter-being with all life. What distinguishes us, because there's life throughout, is that humans in Buddhist path can change the karma. We have a self-reflexive consciousness that makes choices, and now with the aid of terrific technology, we have a terrific impact on the earth. I think of 2 great rivers flowing together, converging, the spiritual religious traditions and propensities of our peoples and the scientific mind, and they're coming together. So this is a very exquisite time when there's not only the scientific and the religious, but this voice of the earth, this voice that's coming through forgotten voices.
Another word that we use for shallow environmentalism is reform environmentalism. Instead of a radical change in society, they're merely trying to reform society ecologically. I think sustainable development, the concept of sustainable development, is a good example of what we would call shallow environmentalism, because the idea is that the development won't stop. We're going to continue to develop. We just want to develop sustainably or ecologically. Now, as long as you've got this tremendous society that's causing so much ecological problem, you've got to have the reform environmentalists. You've got to pass the laws. You've got to take steps. And without the shallow environmentalists, I think we would have lost just about everything by now. So we're very indebted to this type of work that the reform environmentalists are doing. It's absolutely crucial. The deep ecology point is that it's not enough. We've got to go beyond that and start making fundamental changes in society.
To me, the essence of deep ecology is moving beyond a type of environmentalism which is still based on a highly reductionist and a highly distant approach to the living world, to the natural world. To me, the essence of deep ecology is an expression of the need to develop our deep spiritual and both spiritual, intellectual, and physical connection to the living world around us, to the cosmos. That's for me the essence of deep ecology.
Ness would say that people who are working in what's now referred to as the reform environmental approach, Ness would say we all should work together and collaborate, and we should encourage people who are working from what people refer to now as a more reform-based approach to be looking at more fundamental questions. That when one decides that, say, recycling or energy efficiency improvements or certain improvements with respect to farming are enough, they may not be enough, because even organic farming could encroach upon wilderness areas. Or when you're recycling, you're actually, taking a consumer-based product and then trying to reuse certain elements. But maybe it makes sense to not even think about using that product in the first place. So Ness would always argue that we need to engage more fully in terms of questioning all of our actions in life from this deep questioning perspective.
The relation between ecology and philosophy has to do also with this concept of spontaneous experience, because people would, for instance, say, we make a road now through this forest, and it's through the center of the forest, but the square meters of this road is tremendously small, the square meters of it. But then I would say it goes through the heart of this forest. And they say the heart of the forest, that's nonsense. We have a road here, and it's so small part of the forest that it makes no difference. So the spontaneous experience, when you get into the forest deeper and deeper, you have this feeling of being deep in the forest. And if you then hit the road, this completely disappear. And then people say, well, that's your imagination. You see the heart, there's no heart here. But if you start this way and saying there's no heart, it's just at certain distances, you get into a worldview which resembles that of Immanuel Kant, the great philosopher, where you end up saying the nature is without colors, even without shapes, and even without cause and effect, because relation of cause and effect is something created by humans. So there's nothing there. In short, there is nothing in nature in itself. You have no access to nature in itself. You see, you end up in complete nonsense. And that's what many people do who are in philosophy. Even in contemporary so-called postmodernism, nature is something, only a limiting thing which you never can really see or appreciate. You appreciate only your own ways of thinking and feeling. And you are completely determined by your culture and so on. So this protection of nature is a sham in a sense that there is something there, but you don't have any access to it. So it's undermining for some people the belief in protection of nature as a vast undertaking for the next century.
One of the main messages that the ecological perspective brought to us in the 1960s was that we have to, we see the landscape, the animals, humans, everything as interrelatedness, as interrelated. There's been a tendency in Western culture to see things as isolated entities. You know, this person, this rock, they're all separate. Eastern thought has Zen Buddhism and so on. One of the legacies of Zen Buddhism when it was introduced into America was to see things in terms of process and interrelatedness. So the deep ecology movement is, you can't just focus on protecting the panda or the elephant over here, the Siberian tiger, or this particular type of endangered flower, because the whole thing is interrelated. You have to look at ecosystems, and we're trying to protect ecosystems and landscapes.
In Western science and Western philosophy, even in Western religions, we have always considered human beings as the masters of the earth. We think that all our natural world, all our forests and rivers, all our earth and animals are for us. They are ours, and we can use them for our benefit. Even the environmentalists use a very rational, scientific, human-centered approach that we have to preserve the earth and its environment. We have to take care of the forests and rivers and animals. But the reason that we have to conserve them and preserve them and take care of them is because we can use them for human benefit. So forests are a medicine chest for humans and so on. So that is shallow ecology. Deep ecology goes a bit further and says Earth is not here just for us. There are 8.4 million species on this earth, and they have as much intrinsic value and right to be and live undisturbed, unpolluted, uncontaminated as human beings have right to live. So giving nature a rightful place and giving nature and recognizing nature's intrinsic value is the main idea of deep ecology. So there is a tree there. The tree is good in itself. Tree is not good because it is useful to humans. Tree is not good just because it gives us a kind of oxygen or firewood or wood for the house or flowers or fruit. Tree has intrinsic value. River has a right to flow unpolluted, uncontaminated, undammed. And when we take something from nature for our survival, that is fine. That we should take with gratitude, not as of right, that it is our right to use nature. But we say it is a gift from nature, and we receive it with gratitude, and we reciprocate it by looking after it, by composting it, by not polluting it, and by giving respect to it.
A new world must be born, a world that justifies the sacrifices offered by humanity. This new world must be a world in which there shall be no exploitation of the weak by the strong, of the good by the evil, where there will be no humiliation of the poor by violence of the rich, where the products of intellect, science and art will serve society for the betterment and beautification of life, and not the individuals for achieving wealth. This new world shall not be a world of the downtrodden and the humiliated, but of free men and women and free nations, equality in dignity and respect for man. Nikola Tesla. I'm going to end this radio show by reading an excerpt from my book, The Silent Ecocide. Environmental crisis is a crisis of human consciousness. We have been made to feel nothing more than human commodities by society. We must be obedient and told that our only value in the modern world is as a good worker, a good consumer, who pays taxes and whose taxes go to destructive exploits that we have no say in. Our privacy is invaded in case we act criminally. Yet, governments continue to enjoy privacy and operate corruption behind closed doors. Our human rights are being fast eroded, and many of us cannot even imagine a different world. It is a challenge to imagine that we can rise above these lower vibrations. The ecological unconscious, where our natural feelings of connection to the world of nature and other organisms rest, are connected to what biologist E.O. Wilson calls biophilia. People who are the opposite of biophilic are those that prefer the man-made comforts to nature and therefore are biophobic. Biophilic and biophobic tendency are a marker of culture, according to Wilson. And if we take the assumptions made by various commentators like Foucault and Horitz and Rind and Yule, that mental health is a product of its culture, the connection is clearer still. The problems of mental health are shown to be increasing the world over, and according to the World Health Organization, depression is one of the world's leading burdens to every country these days. And it's a reflection of our culture, our society, and the values that we have put on certain areas of society that are not true values. So the problems of mental health are connected to how we view ourselves in relation to nature. Whilst biophilia as a hypothesis could answer this to a degree, it provides many other answers, namely to do with the origin of many of these conditions of human mental health that we're experiencing. Biophobia is a result of modern technology and our dependence on urban life and new technologies that are emerging, and including the corporate surveillance creeping in through computer games such as Phrase with the new Pokemon Go, which uses surveillance techniques and invasive techniques such as camera and GPS and access to the person's email. So these kind of technologies feed a parasitic and destructive system that is trying to control the human mentality. And it creates a culture of biophobia, a disconnection from nature, and a heavy dependence by humans on modern technology. And people who live in cities tend to survive in a bubble of distraction with iPhones, computer games, and being very cut off from nature, and living amidst shopping malls and motorways and everything at their convenience, where nature is compartmentalized, like parks and squares of decoration. David Bohm made a very good argument on whether biophobia should be acceptable, the rejection of nature. First, for every biophobe, others have to do that much more of the work preserving, caring for and loving nature, and that supports biophobes and biophilics alike. Economists call this the free rider problem. It arises in every group, committee or alliance when it is possible for some to receive all of the advantages of membership while doing none of the work necessary to create these advantages. Environmental free riders benefit from willingness of others to fight for the clean air that they breathe, the clean water that they drink, the preservation of biological diversity that sustains them, and the conservation of the soil that feeds them. But they do not lift a finger to help. Biophobia is not okay because it does not distribute fairly the work of keeping the earth or any local place healthy. Biophobia is not okay for the same reason that misanthropy and sociopathy are not okay. Biophobia is not okay because it is a foundation for politics of domination and exploitation. For our politics to work as they do now, a large number of people must not like any nature that cannot be repackaged and sold back to them. They must be ecologically illiterate and ecologically incompetent, and they must believe that this is not only inevitable but desirable. Furthermore, they must be ignorant of the basis of their dependency. They must come to see their bondage as freedom and their discontents as commercially solvable problems. The drift towards biophobic society, as George Orwell and C.S. Lewis foresaw decades ago, requires the replacement of nature and human nature by technology, and the replacement of real democracy by technological tyranny now looming on the horizon.
So the first thing we have to do in the long run is to look at our whole way of thinking, which has developed over so many thousands of years. I don't think it was the original way of thinking of the human race at all, but for many complex reasons it came about. Now, that means that people have to they have to participate, to make a cooperative effort, to have a dialogue, a real dialogue in which we will not merely exchange opinions, but actually listen deeply to the views of other people without resistance. And we cannot do this if we hold to our own opinion and resist the other. It doesn't mean we should accept the other, but we have to be able to look at all the opinions as suspended, as it were, in front of us without carrying them out, without suppressing them.
Eco-Solutionaries Radio. Be a part of the solution, not the crisis. Ecology, consciousness, and solution.
Everything that is now. Everything that is alive is now alive. Now is the only time, the only eternity.